It's time for the Joy Business Report. Coming up, World Bank warns inflation could go up by significant margin in Ghana by end of this year, higher than the 54.1% recorded in the year 2022. Also, visiting IMF team wraps up Ghana's program review and Article 4 consultation as they are strong indication the country will pass the test for the release of $600 million. And some oil marketing companies adjust prices at the pumps, with petrol going for 13 cedis, 49 pesos, and diesel 13 cedis, 95 pesos. Details of these and more with me, Hannah Odami. We start with the World Bank warning that inflation in Ghana and 3 other African countries could go up by some significant margin by end of year. The bank, in its Africa Pulse report, says inflation will go up by some 10% from what was recorded in the year 2022. Ghana ended last year with an inflation rate of about 54.1%. The projection is therefore sending some worrying signals for the country. This is despite the fact that inflation rate has started declining to hit 40.1% in the month of August 2023. Meanwhile, the World Bank's chief economist for Africa, Andrew Debelin, says the inflation and growth overlook is not good for the region.
Economic activity in Africa continues to be subdued. Growth this year will be 2.5% compared to 3.6% last year. So that has declined. Now, but if you think about the reason why that is the case is because a lot of large economies in Africa are underperforming. We still have lots of conflict and violence that has actually ratcheted up. And finally, we also have this global economy that continues to hang over the continent's recovery. Now, 2.5 is low, but it's still positive. However, if you basically account for population growth, which is also around 2.5, effectively that means GDP per capita growth in Africa has been 0 this year. So in a way, the continent has lost an entire decade.
You heard there Andrew Debelin, his chief economist Africa at the World Bank, speaking from Washington, D.C. in USA. A visiting IMF team is wrapping up its Ghana's program review and the Article 4 consultations this week. This was after it began the exercise in the country within the last 2 weeks. George Rafe has more in this report.
The visit by the IMF is not only about tracking Ghana's first review under the IMF program, but also to undertake what is called Article 4 consultation. This is more of an assessment of Ghana's economy as well as future threats. Now, on the IMF program, Joy Business is learning that Ghana has passed most of the targets set under the program. One can talk about the qualitative and the quantitative targets. We also understand that the June and the September ending fiscal targets have been met by government. However, there are some issues with the energy sector restructuring when it comes to payments of arrears and some reform that should be undertaken by government. But sources say this might not be that significant enough to affect government chances of passing this review. The team is expected to end the exercise possibly today with a release or some media engagement. From here, the IMF team is expected to put together its report and forward it to the IMF board for consideration. If the IMF board passes the staff report, it will then go ahead to approve some $600 million to be disbursed to Ghana before the end of November 2023. Well, we'll all be waiting for this final report that the visiting IMF staff team will put together about Ghana, as well as the assessment of the current state of the economy.
That was a Business Desk report. Ghana dropped in 5 of the thematic categories of the Stanbic Bank Africa Trade Barometer, ATB. They include business confidence, infrastructure obstacles, access to credit, and ease of trade. The nation, however, moved up in the trade category. That's more.
Ghana's overall macroeconomic conditions, according to the barometer, are average relative to the other countries. As such, the country's macroeconomic conditions have a moderate impact on its overall tradability attractiveness. On the other hand, relatively high interest rates and inflation, particularly in the last year, have had a negative impact on Ghana's overall tradability attractiveness. On business confidence, the barometer said it is low relative to the other 9 markets. Only 25% of surveyed businesses feel optimistic about the Ghanaian economy in the medium term. Similarly, barriers such as infrastructure challenges, political instability and conflict, high tariffs, and complex customs procedures have negatively impacted the perception of Ghanaian businesses with regards to the ease of trading with the rest of Africa. On quality of infrastructure, the survey showed that Ghana improved relative to the other 9 markets.
You heard there a business desk report. Meanwhile, head of business and commercial clients at Stanbic, Farihan Al-Hassan, highlighted the importance of the report to the trading community.
For me, it's just around what happens in other countries. So it's not just about what happens in Ghana alone. The report typically talks about what happens in the 10 most important countries. That's how we target in Africa: Uganda, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Angola, Ghana, and some other countries. And for me, it's just to find a way of relating what happens there to what happens in Ghana and see how you could take opportunities in those countries. The purpose, as I indicated, is just to ensure that we increase our intra-Africa trade. So if you are selling poultry products to the USA, to Germany, this report tells you that there's another big market in Uganda or in Kenya that you can take advantage of. And perhaps it's just worth exploring those markets to see whether they would offer you competitive trading terms or not.
To some other stories, some oil marketing companies have adjusted prices at the pumps. The review Joy Business is learning was carried out from Tuesday by some of these oil marketing companies. Shell is selling a litre of petrol at 13 cedis, 49 per Swiss. Diesel, on the other hand, is going for 13 cedis, 95 per Swiss. Star Oil, another major player in the industry, is selling a litre of petrol at 11 cedis, 99 per Swiss, while diesel is going for 13 cedis, 39 per Swiss. However, some other major oil marketing firms are still yet to adjust prices at pumps almost 5 days after the October 2, 2023 deadline. Some of the firms have told Joy Business they are still monitoring the markets before they review their prices. Now, the Ghana Institution of Engineering has reiterated its commitment to promote and advance the training and practice of engineering for social good. President of the institution, Engineer Kwabena Bempong, said his outfit is seeking to partner other organizations to help create opportunities in traditional areas. He spoke to Joy Business at the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Ghana Institution of Engineering and the Paramount Chief of the Asin traditional area, Nana Pra Ejesam VI.
Yeah, all these things I've been going around thinking. I went to Dubai and looked at their innovation hub. My goodness. So this is something that we can also do. And these are the seeds that we are sowing. It might probably outlive us, I don't know, but Nana always reminds me that, look, he's an old man. He wants to ensure that he sees it. Once we can tap into this resource, we can end up also developing something that we can look back many years from today.
Now, as part of this year's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, some stakeholders in the ecosystem are calling for more programs on cyber threats. According to the Executive Director of SLAM Foundation, Francisca Boateng, this is necessary to consolidate government's quest to curb cyber-related crimes. She spoke to Joy Business after a 3-day training on cybersecurity.
So the main focus is to bridge the gap, help people that normally will not be able to afford the training. So our goal is to bring people in from all diverse communities, especially the underprivileged, to take these courses because, as Duan said in her presentation, there's a skills gap of 4 million people when it comes to cybersecurity. So our goal is to help bridge this gap, get people into cyber.
You heard Francisca Boateng, she's Chief Executive for SLAM's Foundation. On today's edition of Investor Eye, we tell you how some people can use pyramid schemes to deceive investors and take their monies. Emmanuel Mensah Appiah is the Director in charge of Risk Management Department at the Securities and Exchange Commission, and he speaks on the form a pyramid scheme could be used to scam unsuspecting investors.
With the pyramid, they ask the investors themselves to go out and scout for more people to come into the investment. So you bring 5 people, I bring 5 people. If 20 of us bring 5 people, they have 100 new people in their system to scout.
To commodities where crude oil dropped by $4 and selling at $86 a barrel. Gold is trading at $1,827 an ounce after going up by $6. Cocoa increased by $3 to open trading at $3,431 a ton. On the currency market, the cedi lost some ground to the US dollar, going for 11 cedis, 72 per